they were very careful to calibrate them so that our tax regime appears even a bit harsher than the Congolese one. So I think we have a lot to learn from how they manage the sector in general. I'm not speaking about other things.
Okay. Do you wanna touch on anything in regards to Congo and what we can learn from it?
I think the president's covered that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to also touch on a couple of other issues, and then I want to hear from people who want to get in touch with us this morning. So, income tax for mining companies. Is there a need to amend the income tax that mines are being charged?
Yeah. Well, Luchi, here's the thing. We've talked about stability as a prerequisite to growth, okay? That's the indicator of a conducive environment.
Yeah.
And commitments from government that, you know, the conditions will remain so for a reasonable period of time. The second thing that we require in order to put the industry back on a growth path is we actually require two things. Basically, a stimulus. And the stimulus would come in two parts. We require a normalization of the VAT regime. Presently, the VAT regime makes it quite difficult for one to import ore from Congo because you pay that VAT and the refunds take long to come. If we can have a normalization of the VAT refund regime, it will restore a significant amount of working capital that is presently tied up there. Now, if you have a business cycle where you do 4 or 5 cycles in a year, if you lose a significant amount of money, that translates to a significant amount of turnover. So we need these monies back. They are substantial at the moment. As one of our members puts it, these are business changing amounts at the moment. And if that first thing can be done, then a lot of the credit crunch that our members are facing presently in terms of working capital can be addressed, and they can get back to the business of running efficiently, growing, and perhaps even putting aside a bit to begin to explore further opportunities in the country.
Sorry, I need to take you back a little, just so that you can explain this basically for a lot of people out there. So what you're essentially saying is that government needs to give back to the mines via VAT.
Yes, the VAT.
And that's not happening right now.
It's taking long. Yes, it's not happening. It's taking long. Yeah. So that's a key constraint on working capital that the industry is facing, which also leads to the point of not fully utilizing the assets that we have. The other thing that we require is something of a stimulus. We are limited to some extent in terms of the Income Tax Act with things that are, required to bring the break-even period for a mine as close as possible. You don't want to have a tax regime which takes your break-even period 2 or 3 cycles out of the commodity cycle. You would want your break-even to be in a reasonable horizon from when you actually begin to mine. And what we are looking for is simply a series of non-cash measures which can improve the situation for us, to make it conducive to make these big investments, especially for the copper belt, where sinking of shafts is $1 billion undertaking. And you want to be able to do that and still see your return within a good horizon. So if we can have the limitation, the 10-year limitation on what are called carry-forward losses, it enables you to break even a little bit sooner. The same applies to capital allowances. We need those as well, so that when we make these investments, the break-even period comes a little bit closer. Because the closer to when you start the break-even period is, the earlier you will have additional resources with which to expand and continue to explore the country. So we need something of a stimulus in this regard as well. If we do these things, then we can see a good increment in our annual production volume to the point where we are, significantly ahead of where we were 40 years ago, because we're essentially still where we were 40 years ago. But there's an opportunity going forward to increase that production and to be very handsomely compensated for it with the way the price outlook is for our mineral copper going forward into the mid-20s and early 30s.